We're back with another episode of Loud and Ugly Garage. Today, sponsored by QA1 again. The last episode you saw us tear apart the rear end on Dad's 64 C10. He has since been able to get the fuel lines figured out. If you saw that episode, you know what I'm talking about. But everything else cleared. He messed with the exhaust system a little bit so it would go around the coils. Everything fit up, and he had about a week to drive around on it and experiment. So, Dad, did you notice anything big difference?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It handles a lot better already with just the rear done. I noticed it just seems stiffer when you hit a big dip. Before the thing would kind of bounce. Now it does one and up, and it just stays there. So it's got a lot more rigidity to it. And I tried a couple dumps, and it just plants and goes now. It used to drift really easy, and now it's not so easy. It just plants and goes. So I think just that upgrade there, it did a lot. So we're really excited to throw this front on, because I think the whole truck's going to be a different animal, especially with the rack and pinion steering and all that. I'm going to have a lot tighter ratio, which will be nice. Maybe we'll end up with some road course stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that just because the way this coilover suspension set up. How cool would it be to take this out to a track day and just run on a road course? So maybe in near episodes we'll be able to do something like that. There's a couple courses here in Michigan. I know a few people who do this stuff, so maybe they could introduce us to it, and Dad might be able to rip his truck out there. Obviously it wouldn't be the fastest thing, but it sure as heck could be fun. So we're going to go ahead today, get started on this front end. Don't really know how far we're going to get. There's a lot of parts and pieces here. We're hoping to be able to strip it down and get this K-member bolted back in, because we're going to have to lift the truck up on the car hoist, slide the cherry picker in, hold the engine up, pull the whole K-member out of the front of this, bolt in the new one, and then put in the new engine mount. So we've got our work cut out for us today. We're going to get started right now. So first thing we're going to do is pop this carburetor off and put a little 4-bolt plate on the intake for the cherry picker so we can hold that engine up. We want to do that before we put it up on the hoist, because then it'll just be hard to reach. So we'll get that on there, and then we'll be able to lift up the truck. We have gotten the wheels off, the engine plate is up there, cherry picker's hooked up. We're going to have to slide a jack under the K-member, and we can start unbolting this stuff. We will be switching from the steering box to rack and pinion setup with this. That's what comes with the QA1 kit. So we're going to just detach from the pitman arm here, sway bar brackets, and the shock bolts, and then the upper control arm bolts for the K-member, and then the engine mount bolts, and this whole unit should drop right out. We're going to be giving this to my sister and brother-in-law for their C10, and then they can slide it right in, and they've got disc brakes already, and they'll be ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and start on that. Set the camera on a time lapse here just because there's gonna be a lot to do. But it'll be cool to slide this whole unit out, and then maybe we can get this new K-member bolted in today. We have got that old greasy piece of mess out of there. So that was quite the project. Dad was under there. There's bolts up through that K-member that hold it to the frame. Those were the biggest bugger, I'd have to say. But other than that, it all drops out as one unit, which was nice. We went to put jack stands in the back and I didn't have the camera going. And the whole thing just fell out onto these jacks and we were able to roll it right out. So luckily we weren't under there when that happened. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything you want to add here, Dad.
No, overall I think that it came out pretty good. Like I said, those bolts holding the K-member, some of them are a little tricky to get to, but once we got them loose and everything, I don't know, it all came right apart. So we're going to pull out the power steering box, the pucks off the engine because it has different motor mounts for this setup, and get everything mocked up and stick the K-member in. I think we can get that bolted in today and maybe the engine set back down on it.
Cool. All right, there we go. We're going to get to work on that and we'll update you here at the end. Well, we made it this far. The new K-member is just held in by the centering bolts. We've got to tighten those up, drill a bunch of holes now to mount those up to the actual frame. But other than that, I'd say today was pretty successful to get all that stuff out of here. Like I said, we're going to send that over to my sister and brother-in-law so they can get their C10 rolling. So they're lucking out too. This is cool to be able to help out multiple people. Be helping out my father-in-law Chad as well on his C10 here in the future with some of these parts as well. So we've got definitely our work cut out for us. There's a lot of hardware. They send a bag about this big full of hardware. We just went through it all and sorted it on the bench so we can start deciphering where each bolt goes. So they do a really good job with sending everything you need, and the instructions, they tell you exactly what you got to do with good illustration, pictures and stuff. So it's very simple. It's just a lot of work. So if you're willing to dive into this, then you too could have some cool tubular QA1 control arms and trailing arms and coilovers and be like my dad here.
Yeah, they actually make a kit that's just the control arms, so you don't have to do the whole K-member. But they're interchangeable, so if later on you decide to do the K-member, then you can just put it in there, and they got a little instruction part on, there's a couple little adapters, but it's kind of cool that they made all that stuff work together so you could do all of it or part of it, because it can be expensive and you could do it in little stages then. So good job, QA1. You did an awesome job designing this stuff. I really like it so far. I think it's going to be awesome when we get this front end together.
Yeah, and what did you say that they range it around as weight loss?
Around 180 pounds. It's got to be at least that, because some of the stuff is just the steering box alone is a big old lug compared to the rack and pinion that goes in there. So
yeah,
it'll be nice.
So good weight loss, and with the sway bars and all that stuff and the coilovers, hopefully this thing handles super good. Maybe we can take it to an autocross day and try it out. That'd be pretty cool, and then we'll take it back to the track here and see if it made any improvements with the weight loss and how it hooks up at the track, because before it would just blow the tires off. Maybe we could actually get some traction and get a faster ET for Dad here. So we're gonna call that a day. Thanks for hanging on. That's part one. Tear down, and then we got that K-member sitting in there so you can kind of see what it looks like. Next episode that we're working on the C10, we'll be installing all the tubular control arms and setting up the sway bar. There's a lot of stuff with the rack and pinion going in that he's got to change lines and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of work ahead of us, so stay tuned and we'll catch you next time.